Welcome to a deep dive. Today we're plunging into something really specific and pretty high stakes, actually.
Definitely high stakes. We're looking at how you find the right chief investment officer.
A crucial role, no doubt. And we're basing this discussion on, well, one particular source today.
Yeah, an article from Ava HR. It focuses specifically on the interview process for a CIO.
Right. And it gives some, good insights into what the job involves, what kind of person you need.
And crucially, how you might actually assess that through the interview
Hmm.
based purely on what this article says.
Exactly. So that's our mission for this deep dive. Unpack the CIO role, understand why it's so critical, and look at the assessment areas this source thinks are essential.
We're sticking just to this one source, trying to distill its key takeaways to get you up to speed quickly on this very specialized executive position.
Okay, so let's dig in. What does the article actually say a chief investment officer, a CIO, is?
Well, it defines them as a senior level executive, right? Their main responsibility is basically creating and then implementing the organization's whole investment
The
strategy.
whole strategy, so managing the portfolio, too.
Exactly, managing the portfolio. They're setting the big picture direction for the organization's money according to this source.
Okay, so not just managing trades day to day. What kind of background does the article suggest someone needs for this kind of uh, strategic role?
Typically, it mentions a bachelor's degree,
Mm-hmm.
business, accounting, finance, economics, something related.
Standard stuff for finance.
Yeah. But crucially, it really emphasizes needing previous work experience in similar roles.
Ah, so definitely not entry level.
No way. The source presents it as needing, seasoned expertise. Experience seems non-negotiable based on this article.
Makes sense for that level of responsibility. So, beyond setting strategy and having that background, what are their ongoing tasks, according to the source?
Well, they develop, implement, and manage those strategies day to day.
Yeah.
They oversee the assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And a big part of the job, as described here, is constantly monitoring how things are performing.
Watching the numbers.
Right, and analyzing market trends, looking for new opportunities. But it's not just about chasing returns.
No, the source definitely stresses the other side of that coin, doesn't it? Risk.
Absolutely. It highlights that their primary duty is managing the portfolio to maximize return while minimizing risk.
That's the classic balancing act.
It really is. And the article says this is fundamental to the role. It demands, a deep grasp of market dynamics and potential pitfalls.
And that balance, it needs specific technical know-how, too, right? I think the source mentions certain financial instruments.
It did, yeah. Specifically points out that a thorough knowledge of things like derivatives, options, and swaps is necessary.
Pretty complex stuff.
Definitely. And they need to be able to evaluate the benefits and, by implication,
Yeah.
the risks involved with using them. Plus, staying on top of regulatory changes is mentioned too.
Because those can totally change the game.
Exactly. It significantly impacts strategies.
Wow. Okay, so this mix of high-level strategy, navigating risk, specific technical command, that sounds incredibly tough to assess in just an interview setting. How does the article suggest you even approach that?
Well, the article makes a really strong case for detailed preparation before the interview even starts.
Preparation on the interviewer side.
Yes. It argues that prep is what ensures the questions you ask are actually meaningful and targeted. So you can get a clear picture of the candidate, as a person and a professional.
So it's not just about grilling them, but about setting up a productive conversation.
Precisely. The article says preparation lets candidates really show their knowledge and skills effectively in the areas that matter.
Okay.
And it also helps create a positive impression, which is important if you want to attract the best people.
Right, you want them to want the job too.
And from the interviewer's perspective, it stops you from just, winging it, ensures you stay focused, and helps you actually pick the best fit.
Okay, so structured preparation is key, according to the source. What kinds of things does the article suggest you actually ask about in that prepared interview?
The questions it recommends cover several vital areas. Obviously, direct experience in finance comes up.
Makes sense.
The article suggests asking candidates to, rate their own understanding of current market and economic trends. Basically, checking if they have their finger on the pulse right now.
And then how they'd actually use that understanding, like practically.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The source includes questions like, what strategies do you use to ensure profitability for the investments?
Okay.
And asking for specific examples of successful investment decisions they've personally made, moving from theory to, actual practice.
What else does the source say is crucial to probe? Because it can't just be about their individual track record, can it?
Right. Good point. The article includes a question about how they'd motivate their team.
Ah, the leadership aspect.
Yeah, motivating the team for long-term goals while still hitting short-term targets. This really points to the source seeing leadership and team management as essential, not just their own performance.
And given all that talk about the risk-return balance, there must be questions aimed right at their risk management approach.
Oh, for sure. There's a specific question mentioned about the strategies or methods they use when analyzing risk and building investment plans.
Getting into their process.
Exactly. Right into that critical balancing act. Other key areas the source suggests exploring are how they stay current with industry changes, capital markets.
Always evolving.
Totally. Also, their experience developing innovative strategies, how familiar they are with regulatory compliance, and even what kind of technology they use.
That seems pretty comprehensive. Covers experience, skills, strategy, leadership, quite a lot. The article also mentions using a candidate scorecard. What kind of criteria does it list for evaluating candidates using something like that?
The example criteria in the article cover a few different dimensions.
Yeah.
You've got the fundamental checks, like
Mhm.
education, prior work experience, just confirming the basics are there,
Table stakes, basically.
pretty much. But then it goes deeper. It looks at specific qualifications and the technical skills needed for the job itself.
The stuff we just talked about. Derivatives, analysis.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It also assesses problem-solving abilities, how they think critically, under pressure, or with complex issues.
And how they'd actually fit into the team, the company.
That's covered too, yeah. Communication and team-building skills are on the list. And the article also includes broader ideas like organizational fit.
I mean,
Basically, does this person align with the company culture, the way things are done, and also directional fit?
directional fit. What's that?
It's about whether hiring this person makes sense for where the organization is going, and if the role is a good next step for the candidate's own career. Sort of hints at motivation, long-term potential.
Huh. So using a scorecard with criteria like those helps you get beyond just how well they interviewed on the day.
Right. It pushes for a more structured, holistic assessment across all these areas the source thinks are important.
It helps make sure you're looking beyond just, say, technical brilliance or their past performance numbers.
And considering things like leadership potential and how they'd actually integrate into the culture, it's a fuller picture.
So if we bring all these pieces from the Ava HR article together, the role, the responsibilities, the focus on interview prep, the types of questions, the scorecard, what's the big takeaway from this source about finding a CIO?
What really stands out from this article, I think, is that hiring a CIO isn't just treated as like a technical checklist exercise.
No, it seems much more complex.
It really does. It's presented as finding someone with this rare combination of skills. Deep technical knowledge, yes, but also strategic vision.
The ability to navigate those complex markets, balance big risks and rewards.
The leadership to manage a team, and the right fit for the organization's culture and its future. The source implies it's a really holistic assessment, looking for a highly multifaceted leader.
So whether you find yourself actually involved in hiring for a role like this, which sounds pretty challenging,
Definitely challenging.
or maybe you aspire to that kind of finance leadership role yourself, or you're just curious about how major investment portfolios are managed.
Understanding these fundamentals of the CIO position, at least as this one article presents them, seems incredibly valuable.
Yeah, it gives you a specific window into the kind of thinking and expertise and even the personal qualities considered essential right at the top of financial management.
It really does.
It really makes you think, though, about the future, doesn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, especially when you factor in how fast markets change, technology evolves,
Constantly changing.
and those financial instruments the source mentioned, derivatives, options, swaps, they get more complex, too. So given all that constant change, how do you really make sure the CIO you hire today is actually going to be equipped to lead that investment strategy, effectively, say, 5 or 10 years down the line? It just highlights how critical and forward-looking this role is.
Yeah, and the real challenge of assessing that future capability,
Yeah.
it goes way beyond just ticking boxes based on what they've done in the past.
A tough nut to crack. Definitely something to think about.